What's up, everybody? I have no idea what the audio quality is going to be on this podcast because I'm using some wireless Bluetooth headphones while I'm driving to work here on the morning of April 2nd. It is frosty outside. I'm a little disappointed about this. I thought we were done with freezing temperatures, but apparently we're not. Anyway, I thought I'd do a little solo podcast just to recap my experience at the Chubb Enduro, and that would be me not having my seatbelt on. I'm still in my driveway, so, you know, I'll qualify that, even though it's none of your business. Regardless, I thought I'd do a little pod to recap my experience. I don't know why anybody would really want to listen to it, given that we just had the guy who won the Chubb Enduro on our last podcast, which published this morning. But the difference is he did really well, and I did really bad. I kind of had a lot of blunders. Well, we're going to have to pause this because my father is calling. All right, sorry about that little hiccup in continuity. I guess that's the danger of recording for your phone. So I'll get right into it. Chubb Enduro. I went out for pre-ride day, and my goal for pre-ride day was basically use as little energy as possible. I was dumb and didn't go to a chiropractor a couple weeks ago when I should have, because I thought I just had a strained muscle somewhere in the left side, like my glute, my lower back had been hurting me pretty good for a couple weeks, and I didn't want to aggravate it, so I really had not been on the bike training at all for 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the race. The only day I rode was at the test day 2 weeks before at Shepherd Mountain, but even then it was basically, 2 shuttle rides or 1 shuttle ride and 2 climbs, and then I was just really cruising down, nothing high intensity, because that's what hurt, and that was it. So I didn't really pre-ride too hard. I got to look at everything, and kind of regret not taking it more seriously. That line on stage 5 where a lot of the fast guys were popping off the little knob rock up on top, clearing over another slab that was a drop, that was a pretty gnarly line, and I just was not feeling it, was not willing to take the risk there. Shout out to Dan Holleran, somehow cased the rock that people were jumping off of and crashed off that pretty good. Sorry for calling you out, Dan, but it's on the internet, so blame your buddies that posted it. Anyway, I didn't ride down stage 6 during pre-ride, but I really wasn't worried about it because I've been up it a bunch of times. I've raced it last year, but on actual race day, I showed up, put my number plate on my bike, got ready. I was cold, so I decided to wear my nice waterproof pants that I got for Christmas. Those are the only mountain bike pants I have. And put a short sleeve jersey on, then put a long sleeve jersey on, and elbow pads, knee pads, full face, cold weather gloves, and I was pretty well set to go. So I was with the very last wave of people, and not only was I with the last wave of people to go up, I guess this was around 10:30, I was basically at the very back of that wave. No biggie, I don't mind going last. So we climb up, get to basically the top of the first peak, where the step stage 3 was going to start. And right there where there was kind of the rough cut to transition and start heading over to stage 1, I realized that in my excitement, I did not get my transponder at all. I just forgot. I put my number plate on my bike, and I don't know if in my brain goes, yep, you're good. But the last wave took off, and I just went with them, got to the top, and realized I just climbed all this way for absolutely nothing, because now I have to go back down and get my transponder. Now, this is how far behind I am at this point. During the first climb up, the woman who had led out the day passed me on my climb up. Well, or she caught up to me. She had already done stage 1 and stage 2. She was heading to stage 3. This is on my first trip up. I haven't even got to stage 1 yet. So I have to ride back down. I meet some of the Groms along the way, and they thought some of them thought I was already on stage 6, which was crazy. It's like, no guys, I'm just dumb, that's all. Go down, get my transponder, tell Matt, I'm gonna be super late. He's like, oh, you're fine, buddy. Climb back up. I will, at least I got a pre-ride in for stage 6. I knew I was gonna be feeling this at the end of the day, and this actually, I think, I was burning a few candles extra, trying to get up a little faster than the first time, that I was gonna regret later. But I figured by the time I got to stage 1, I was gonna be all alone, nobody there, just, riding by myself the rest of the day. Well, that turned out not to be the case at all. I got to stage 1 and the line had to have had at least 50 people in it still, and the wind was blowing. I had gotten all sweaty trying to climb up faster for no reason, and there were a handful of people at the back. Ryan and Kevin Connor were kind of at the back there hanging out. They were cuddling to stay warm, which was so cute. Let me tell you, it was so cute. And then there was another crew. There was a lady named Joy, who all I know about her is she lives in Kansas and she plays the fiddle. And she had 2 buddies with her. I don't remember their names. They were pretty fast. One was from Texas. One lived in Arkansas. They were kind of riding in a group. So those were basically the people I hung out with pretty much all day. That kind of crew there, just because they were transitioning more at my pace. So at least the Connors were. But usually by the time I got to the next stage, that crew was in line and we were all kind of bunched up there. So I take off down stage 1, and I knew it was going to be bad because I hadn't been riding, but holy smokes, people, coming across these real flat, chunky rock sections where there's just it's not smooth in the slightest, so you got to pedal, but you can't really carry momentum that well. You got to watch out for rock strikes. I was dying by the first one. I mean, huffing and puffing. Come out of that, get into the new rough cut section. I got through it clean. I didn't get through it exactly how I wanted, especially the very last turn back into a small, tiny little climb. I just kind of overcooked the turn a hair and had no momentum. And from there, I was seat up pedaling through all this chunky stuff just because I was dying. Like, my tongue was hanging out. I was gasping for air. Sitting down, coming across all that big chunky rock. When it finally you come out of that and it gets smooth again and downhill a little bit, you can get some speed. Drop my seat down, come around the big sweeping right corner that kind of goes to the last flat climbish part before the end. And I literally was pedaling with my seat down because I didn't have the energy to stand up and sprint, and I knew I was just going to have to put it right back down coming into the bottom. So I just pedaled with my seat down, looking like a little kid on how kids ride their bikes. They want their seat low so they can touch the ground, but their knees are like, hitting their elbows. That was me. Pretty comical, I'm sure, if anybody saw me at that point. And came across the finish, checked up just a little more than I should have off a little stump jump, but they say you can't win a race in one stage, but you can certainly lose it. Well, I didn't lose it all in that stage, but turns out my time relative to my class wasn't too terrible. I think I got 4th in the class in that stage, out in expert, which wasn't nearly as bad as I would have guessed. Well, from there things didn't quite go so great. So I head on to stage 2, stop by my truck, grab some stuff, and head on up to stage 2. And holy smokes, like, that hill, that it's a paved hill, you'd think it would be easy. I don't know if the grade is just steeper than it seems at first, but it's no joke climbing up that road behind Chubb to get up to stage 2. I felt like I was pedaling forever. I think I was granny gearing it for a little bit, and I was like, okay, you cannot granny gear it on a paved road. So I clicked into the next, second or third gear just out on principle, because I felt like such a goon, and I wasn't even catching the guy that was walking in front of me. Get up to stage 2. Shout out to Joey Russell and his Huevos boys that were up there hanging out, taking care of people, cooking food, high-fiving, very encouraging bunch, honestly. Like, yeah. Every time I've ever been around them and we're riding, they make me feel good about myself and just the whole situation, what's going on. So I'm glad they were hanging out up there. That's a good cheerleading crew to have around. Anyway, get to stage 2, and I watch some guys in front of me go, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like they went through that G out pretty fast. That was good. So I drop in, and as I'm dropping off, the start of stage 2 is really steep, right? Like, as soon as you start moving, it goes straight down. And I look down as I'm clipping in, and I notice that my shock is in firm compression mode. I have a Fox Float X2, so it's not a true lockout. It's just like cranking your low-speed compression all the way in, basically. And at this point, like, I can't stop and start over. Like, there's no stopping this train. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm just doing this stage with my shock like this, but it's not very long. I'll be all right. Well, I don't know what came into my stupid head. I decided I was going to go from the start all the way into the muddy G out and just never touch the brakes. Like, literally hit it as fast as I could. And I thought, there's enough, it's a little muddy right in the bottom of it, but there should be enough grip that I can manage it. And I'll be honest, I hit that thing so fast, and I don't know if my shock played into this because it didn't really work the way it should have. I was kind of distracted thinking about it. It wasn't really in the moment. And I completely wiped out. Like, I hit that G out, got loose, went down. I really don't even know. I mean, it happened so fast. I really don't know exactly how, but all I know is it was my own fault for just getting a little too confident with myself. Good news is, as I was picking up the bike, it happened to fall on the left side, so I could reach that compression lever and open that sucker up. So hop back on the bike, take off. My bars are a little twisted, not terrible. I'm trying to make up for it. It's not going great. I end up overcooking the last turn. Tried to go to the inside, but I came in so hot that, like, there was just no doing it. I ended up going, like, over the big rock at the finish that's kind of in the middle, which is, like, exactly what you don't want to do. Head on to the next stage, get my bars straightened out. Didn't realize, I think maybe my stem at that point was maybe a little loose. I don't know. I should have checked on that a little better, but get the bars straightened out, tighten it down. Okay, head on. So, go up to stage 3, the Chubb step stage, and this actually just, I took a different line than I usually take. I think that was a mistake. So you start that stage, you come down, you go across some flats. There's almost a little bit of a rise climb before you get into the last section that's all downhill. And I just did not have it. Like, I did not have the legs. I didn't have the energy. And I knew I was slow coming across there. I mean, end up seat up pedaling when really it should be seat down sprint. But I was just like, man, it's only the third stage of the day. Like, I gotta have something for the end, and just didn't have it across all that flat. And took a little bit of a different line, going into, after you come across, there's the dirt hip jump. I usually go all the way left outside. I should have stuck with that. But for pre-ride, I was kind of looking and ended up taking the middle. It wasn't bad, I don't think, but I don't think it was that great either. It cut off a lot of trail, but I didn't have the power to sprint out of it and maybe make up for that lost momentum that I might have had going to the all the way outside. So come into the steps part, that was all fine, you know, take the drop, pretty much no braked it all the way down into the left-hand turn. Didn't take that turn super fast, kind of played it a little too safe, especially after watching like Jordan's GoPro video. Like he came around that turn way faster than I did. I was a little too worried about trying to get high after it up to the left. I think I don't think it really matters your line through there. I think I would have been better off swinging wide and just having the speed. I think what I thought would be an advantage just really wasn't. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes you spend so much time thinking about a line that you set up for it so much that it ends up not being faster. It happens. I know next year I'm really going to take, trying to get up there and pre-ride a little bit and look for those sneaky lines, take that a lot more seriously, if I race it next year. So get through that one clean, no problem. Head up the long transition up to 4, following the Connors the whole way. If you guys missed it, unfortunately she did it as a story, not a post. At the top of 3, there was definitely some calisthenics going on with the crew that we'd been riding with. It was pretty good. I feel sorry for anybody who missed it, but we basically looked like a 1980s aerobics dance crew up there, trying to stay warm. Get to 4. 4 I was dreading just as much as any other stage, but I had a sneaky suspicion that 4 there was a lot of time to actually be made. For as much pedaling and up and down as there is in 4, there's actually a lot of speed I knew to be made if you could just stay off the brakes coming into some of these corners, where as you're coming into the corner you're coming off a badly angled log or rock, and it's kind of off cambered, your bike's not settled, it's a little sideways. And with the day I was having, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna send it into these corners, and if I crash, I crash. And that's normally not my thinking. I'm just usually not that guy, but I was like, I'm just going for it on 4 because I need all the momentum I can possibly get coming out of these corners to start pedaling. So that's what I did, and it worked out. Turned out to be my best stage relative to the class. I ended up with 2nd on that stage in the expert class, which was shocking to me. But I guess everybody else was tired too. And there definitely weren't as many sneaky lines. I feel like 4 was kind of the least when it came to maybe sort of having a local knowledge advantage. I think the lines were pretty straightforward. It was pretty much run the main line. Here and there you could square something up or whatever, but I think though they were so obvious that everybody was doing pretty much the same thing. And so I really liked the bottom of 4, and honestly I feel like I should have went way faster coming into the very last little dirt section into the parking area, because by the time I got to it, I kind of checked up coming into it just because I wasn't quite sure. And then I saw the rut that I needed over on the right, and I was like, oh, you shouldn't have touched the brakes, because that rut was perfect. Going at the end of the day, I think was an advantage in that section for sure, because there were some ruts that had developed in that super off camber G-out ditch where it was fine. I mean, I just could get right into the rut and didn't have to worry about sliding out or anything like that. And so there was an advantage to be had there, and I just did not utilize it to its potential because I was still thinking about how it was the day before. And I thought I was going to have to go from right to left across that ditch, and turns out I could just stay high left because that rut there, but by the time I saw it, you know, I'd already slowed down more than I needed to, so a little bit of a bummer there. So, get done with 4, head on up to stage 5, and here's where I was hiking up stage 5, and I got basically to the A-B line feature on the hike, and when I was coming up, I didn't see it, but I could hear everybody shout. That's when Dan crashed pretty good on that feature, what I had heard was that he had endoed all the way down. So that was like extra in my mind. Like, I'm not jumping off that rock knob. I'm just gonna go through the chute. I'm gonna check up, go through it, be safe, and then take off after that. And shout out to the boys. I thought I did really well on this stage. Now, I think I would have been right there for a tie for first or second if I had done that gap, and for sure next year I'm going to do it, because if you want to go fast, like, that's worth a lot of time. It's just, you know, I didn't do it. I checked up. I ended up being like 7th on this stage or something in my class with a time of 43, but there were tons of guys with 40, 41s, 42s. Even in the amateur classes, I was really surprised. Everybody was going fast down that thing. So I think if I'd have done that, that was definitely worth some time. I mean, I came into it and it was full front rear brake lockup. So yeah, I figure that's at least the second half, 2 seconds, just right there. So I think I was pretty well on par with everyone else on the rest of it. But yeah, shout out to the St. Louis locals. I really think that in this last year, since the last Chubb Enduro, I was I think a little more out of shape this year than last year, but I also think that the boys up there have gotten faster. Like, I think they're just better than they were last year for sure. So full credit to them. I mean, prime example, I can't remember his time exactly, but you know, Devin Hines, we've ridden together off and on for years now, and he flew at Chubb. Like, he was flying. So those guys definitely, that crowd up there, I think Chubb has definitely become the go-to place if you want to do more gravity-oriented riding in the St. Louis area. And it shows, man. Everybody rips up there these days. So anyway, the top of stage 5, before I dropped in, my legs started cramping up. My quads started giving me the flutter, where you know a cramp's coming. And shout out to Jake Starzard, I can never remember his name, and his friend. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, buddy. But they're the Treco app guys. They ride Da Vinci's. They hooked me up with a goo, with electrolytes and amino acids. They gave me a salt pill. I sat there for a little bit, and then I was pretty well good to go. So big thanks to them, because I really thought, I was just like, man, my day is going to be done, and this is not going to be good. And here's a guy in a car who thinks he's more important than everybody else, trying to squeeze his way into a gap that doesn't exist. Sorry, buddy, nothing we can do here. Taking a toke off his vape in his Cadillac. Anyway, got done with 5, went, drank a pickle juice, which are absolutely disgusting, and I despise them, but I did not want to deal with leg cramps. Started making my way up the transition to 6, last stage of the day. I'm like the last person to start heading off that way. And I'm pushing my bike. I'm walking my bike from the bottom, I mean, immediately. And here, race promoter Matt Johnson shouting my name on the megaphone. Clint Sylvie, why are you walking? Ride your bike! Ride your bike! What are you doing? There's just everybody's hollering. Nothing I could do but hang my head in shame and keep walking up. I mean, there's one thing I don't do. I don't cave to peer pressure, and buddy, I was tired, and so I wasn't gonna hop on and spin if I didn't have to. So I keep on going. I lied. I was not the last person. There were two guys coming up behind me. They ended up passing me, but it was like Tom McPherson and a guy I don't know his name. They went on by me though at some point. I hung out with Rich Miller on the bench before we continued on for a little bit, taking a rest. Shout out Rich. I think he crashed again on 6. He was already hurting at that point. But he ended up being the very last person down for the day. I had no idea because he was behind me that I think he got hurt. Might have cracked some ribs or something like that. But credit to him for sticking it out the rest of the day. I know he was hurt going into 6, and then I think I just finished him off. So I take off down 6, and I knew it was going to be a sufferfest. There's a ton of pedaling. Was doing all right. Missed a really good line to the right on a short little Rudy climb that I should have taken. Came up out of that with no momentum whatsoever. Was just hating myself at that point. Get down through all the rock garden section that's really knobby and actually downhill, and start getting out into some of the final pedaling sections. And at this point, I'm gassed. My brain is absolutely fried. I'm, not even paying attention. I got my seat up, I'm pedaling, and next thing I know, I pedal strike a rock knob, and I am supermaning over the bars into the side of the hill. Just supermaned out. Fortunately, I was totally okay. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to at least slam my chest into a rock. I was fine. Unfortunately, though, my phone in my pocket was not. It got totally smashed. I mean, it looks like somebody shot it in 2 different places with a gun. I've got a pretty good bruise on my hip now from my foot, like the impact to my phone to my hip. Caused a pretty good bruise as well. I mean, that's how hard I hit some rocks. So I can't tell if the phone actually acted as some padding, because there's 3 spots on it that are very very pinpointed pressure, and I guess those would have been rocks into my leg had my phone not been there. So yeah, that was the biggest casualty. But at that point, my race was done. I did not get up in a hurry. I just kind of like got up slow, grabbed my bike, and then just basically casually rode out to the finish. Bars were twisted again. I was done. Very happy to be done with that race. My stinking waterproof pants, they're not waterproof anymore. Ripped some holes in the knee area. But you know what? I've got to be actually pretty happy, because for having 2 crashes, which it's been a long time since I've done that in an enduro where I just blew up a couple times. My head's fine, my body's fine. Went to the chiropractor the next day. Turns out I should have went a long time ago, because he got my hip straightened out, and it's so much better already. But that pretty well ended my day. Left a hoodie in Devin Hines' car. Hopefully I'll get that this weekend or something. And yeah, that was my ridiculous Chubb Enduro. Enduro is hard. Like, you've got to be ready for it and dial up some intensity if you want to perform well. And I wasn't prepared, and I did not perform well. And so congratulations to the guys who did. Y'all were ripping. Hopefully I can use my local advantage down at Shepherd to maybe get some revenge come Big Mountain Enduro time. But we'll see. I know I'm not going to be the only one riding down there, so I think it's going to actually be a pretty level playing field compared to a lot of races we go to. But I'm not going to lie. I'm going to do everything I can to have the biggest advantage I can, because, why not? It's racing. Everybody's got a home track, home mountain, home hill. And hope to see you guys all out there if you're not racing. And feel free to heckle me. I love that. I kind of missed that this year. I didn't really hear anybody heckling at Chubb. Maybe they had already moved on since I was so far back by the time I came through. But I love the hecklers. I love the insults. That's, to me, one of my favorite parts. And it just brings a smile to my face. So if you're not racing BME in a couple weeks, get out there and heckle. If you are racing, be smart. It'd be easy to get hurt out there. Finish the race and be prepared for a lot of hike-a-bike. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Later.